Hi, my name is Jeroen Hoppe. I'm author of the Clapham property blog, and today I'm going to tell you how you can choose an investment property by looking at a chicken shop. Right, well, we'll dive right into today's topic. I know it sounds weird looking at chicken shops in order to decide on your property investment, but hear me out, it really works. I've been talking about this for years actually. I'm really happy to share it with you. There are some fundamentals involved, so let's discuss those first. So what we're looking for in property investments, right? Well, firstly, we're looking at potential capital appreciation over the long run, obviously. And secondly, we're looking for yield. So how much does the property yield right now? Because the capital growth, that's a maybe, it's in the future, and it falls under the delayed gratification category. So you need to have yield right this second. So let's look into three things that will help us decide, and then we'll come back onto the chicken shop thing that I mentioned earlier. So the first thing is transport links, infrastructure. So what's the property, or what's the area rather, got going for it? So is there a new train line going in, a new DLR maybe, a new bypass? What is it? You know, people need to get around, and the easier people get around, the more people can get around, and the easier it becomes to live in that sort of area and get to work. So there's going to be more people living there, a higher demand, you see. Secondly, one of the indicators of an up-and-coming area is a lot of new build going on, new build flats. Now, all these new build flats, people are obviously paying a developer's premium, but what it does do is it attracts high-earning professionals into the area. So if there's a lot of people there with their big wallets and big salaries to afford these lovely new build flats, they're going to be looking to spend their money locally as well, because obviously people don't spend their money just in the area that they work, they want to spend it near to home as well. So over time, you'll see the shops change over. Now, that brings me to my third point, shops. Now, this is where it becomes really interesting, right? And it's probably the most important factor. So chicken is the key one, you see. So when you look at an area and those new builds I mentioned, they're completed, the train's already running, you've kind of missed the boat already in terms of really serious capital gains and yields and things. So that's where chicken comes into it. In affluent areas, chicken shops have over time been replaced by coffee shops. So all being well, that means something is going for an area. So transport, public spending, whatever it is. Now, it'll mean that over time, all the chicken shops will fade out, more expensive shops like coffee shops will take their place. So let's have a look at these maps, shall we? Right, here is one of chicken shops. The darker the yellow means the higher the density. Let's focus on South London here, because after all, that's what I do know best. Let's look at Camberwell, East Dulwich, Forest Hill and Penge. You can see this patch still has a high density of chicken shops, and this is at the time of writing, so this article's from 2015. And you think that's a bit odd, because Dulwich is really expensive, right? Now, here is the map of coffee shops. So central London is full of them. That same corridor on the southeast I just mentioned, not so much. Now here's where it gets interesting. Here's a heat map of property prices. So you need to home in on the dark red where the prices are the cheapest. Again, you're looking at the southeast here, but notice how the areas that I mentioned before already have a relatively high average house price. So you need to look at places where there's still relatively a lot of chicken shops and relatively low house prices. Looking at areas such as Peckham, Deptford, Greenwich, with exception of North Greenwich obviously, because that's one big new build estate, and Woolwich and Thamesmead. So you see how that corridor goes along the southeast of the Thames there. So taking into account this is 2 years old now, you can get a feel of what the article is saying. Let me actually take a step back a few years, link in something else. Have a look at this. Good friend of mine, fellow investor Dawood Himo, recently made a heat map of his own using unemployment data from the ONS. So have a look at this, right? Now this is 6 years old, so we're looking with the benefit of hindsight. But wouldn't you agree with me that all of the property prices in the areas with relatively higher unemployment have gone up the most? Right. So, therefore, the areas with A, lots of chicken shops, B, relatively higher levels of unemployment, and C, relatively low house prices have gone up the most. They present the best opportunities for investment. So providing that there's something on the agenda for long-term growth, that is. Now in London this could mean simply gentrification, but obviously the big factors here were the DLR, Crossrail, all that sort of thing. So I've been quoting this article to fellow investors for a few years now. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please like on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, whichever platform you're listening to this on, and do share it with your fellow investors. So I hope to see you next time for another episode of Video Investing Tips. See you then.